In today's clip, I'm going to rail a bit on GameStop stock, which has recently become the hot new thing. So let's find out if it's for any reasonable reasons, shall we? Hey, Zempuk here. Another day, more dollars and cents flowing in without me having to do anything whatsoever. By the way, if it's not that obvious, this channel obviously brings in no chatter whatsoever, so if you're somehow here for one reason or another anyway, comment, like, and subscribe to help me rectify that situation. Possibly in 3 to 5 months? Years? Who knows? So I see GameStop stock trending because it's been exploding off the rails. Amazing. Hey, that's a company that I've heard of and actually know, as a consumer relatively well, right? Should I buy in? Should you? I mean, what would someone who cares about fire do in this situation? So let's break down a few different ways to look at it, right? Rationale number one. So how does GameStop make its money, and has that changed recently, right? For those of you who don't know, it's a brick-and-mortar store, mostly. It sells physical copies of video games. So I am quite familiar with the brand because I love video games. But really, I know of GameStop. Mostly, I know of it as a huge ripoff because it would do that when selling used games at a huge markup. Okay, those are back in the days when I was poor and needed to buy used games. So as far as I can tell, they haven't changed that business philosophy. And honestly, if you're a gamer, when's the last time you went to a physical store as opposed to simply downloading it over the internet? Okay, I know it's been a while for me, and I can tell you that even on the chances when I do buy some physical copies, I just buy it on Amazon because I don't have to worry about the inventory issues at my local brick-and-mortar stores, such as GameStop, right? Ways to look at it. Number two, right? Has this been affected by the pandemic somehow? I mean, this is a very rare moment in history after all. So the answer to this question, I think, is twofold, right? Strangely, the business hasn't changed much, except that during the pandemic, people do like to play more video games. That's true. However, they're less likely to visit mall spaces where GameStops are actually located. So I would argue the actual effect on this specific company is strangely smaller than, say, like mobile game companies or actual game manufacturers like Nintendo or Sony, right, who are raking in the dough. What has changed in a different way is that because there's a lot more cooped up young people who need income and need income fast, thus creating an army of new-ish retail investors whose grasp on the stock market as a long-term investment vehicle is dubious at best, right? So apparently GameStop stock is propped up due to the love it's getting from a group of dedicated Reddit users or groups. Hey, look, I'm not cool enough to understand how exactly that works, but I can tell you this, retail investors as a whole always loses. Not saying that individuals can't make out like a bandit, but as a group, they're always beneath the average, beneath any index, right? So, way to look at it. Number three. So, is this about its new minority owner? Okay, because executives play a key role in the functions of large corporations, right? So, the only remotely realistic part of a change in GameStop's business was the addition of an executive of some renown last August. I think he was part of Chewy or something, right? Who has a turnaround plan aimed 2 to 3 years out. Most likely not even having factored in how long the pandemic will last because, nobody knows how long the pandemic will last, right? I'm all for new and better leaderships, but my personal opinion is that the market prices and expectations about 6 months to a year out, right? Not 2 to 3 years out. So imagine any of us can foresee what great things this one dude can do to a decrepit brand like GameStop in 3 years is basically like me giving you advice on winning lottery ticket numbers. But 3 years in advance, right? Do you really think you'll even be able to keep track of such a prophecy by the time this future date rolls around? Or, an easier example is just think of it this way. Think back to this specific date, but 3 years ago. Do you remember exactly what you're doing? Or even any one specific thing that you were doing 3 years ago? Yeah, that's how vaguely we can remember backwards, and I will say that that is likely how much we can project forward, right? Betting on this is, to me, the definition of just plain lunacy. Okay. Perspective number 4, right? How about from a FIRE point of view? Should you jump on the bandwagon? I think, you know what I'm going to say to this one, right? Do you want to put some money into GameStop? Sure, with money that you drop, in a casino. Yes, because this is pure speculation, not an investment in any sense of the word whatsoever, okay? Let's review what has happened, okay? This is, in the news, it's being called a melt up. I love this word, because in the last 8 months, GameStop stock has gone up 2,400%. So it's basically 24x, right? And right now it's currently trading somewhere, like I say, average is around $100, right? So it's very, very volatile. Sometimes it's $90, sometimes like 110, 120. Now, if you think its stock can go up another 24x, that would mean this stock would be $2,400 a share in, say the span of a year. If you think that's going to happen, sure, put some money in there, right? Now, here's a really simple thing to keep in mind. This company makes no money, okay? It makes no money. There's no P/E ratio to even look at, okay? No profits. Please keep that in mind, right? Sure, there are other companies out there that make low profits or zero profits that people love and respect, like Amazon, right? But these are usually for new tech companies that, are investing into their infrastructure and new types of businesses that we can't even imagine. GameStop is just GameStop, okay? It's a known quantity that does literally nothing new or interesting, right? Okay, even its old reputation, it's not like it was a company like Eastman Kodak, right? Had a great reputation. Over time, it lost out to innovation. The old reputation of GameStop is complete crap, okay? So if this isn't a bubble, sure, I'll happily make another clip for doubting this company and admit my mistake, right? Happily. I know I'm not always right, okay? But I'm also somehow rich, so take it as you will, right? So in conclusion, I just want to mention, I used to love going into GameStop. Not to shop there, because it's a terrible store and a ripoff, right? But just to look at like the box covers and the box art. This was a terrible store 10 years ago. It's melt up, as people are calling it, right? Just shows that new investors will always, always be the most naive and, trusting and, and just being manipulated by other people, right? Have you guys seen the movie Boiler Room? It actually kind of really reminds me of that. The situation just reminds me of that movie. Honestly, the only difference is the technology behind how the pump and dump scheme actually works, right? Again, if you got into the GameStop craze 6 months ago, good for you. I hope you made some money. Good for you. There's always going to be some winners and some losers in a pump and dump scheme, right? The difference is the majority will be the losers, right? But now that it's in the news, as always, it's too late for the rest of us, okay? I'm happily awaiting to see how this drama unfolds. But, I think I can basically act as a psychic here and say I pretty much know how this one will end up, right? In the meantime, catch some of my other clips on the corners. And cheers.